Hello, everyone, and welcome to Cinema Lives, Episode 4. In this episode, we'll be talking about Project Hail Mary, directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller, and starring Ryan Gosling from this year, 2026. And let's just jump right into it. I saw Project Hail Mary at the AMC Oak Tree here in Seattle, and sort of a smaller theater, not like they don't have IMAX screens or anything like that. I wanted to go see it in IMAX, but the IMAX is a little bit further away from me, and it's just a little bit more of a pain to get to. It's not too bad, but I felt like going somewhere that was easy to get to, so I ended up going to the AMC Oak Tree, and it was a big screen, but it was like, it was your average multiplex screen size. It was nothing premium, but I still enjoyed the experience. Well, to get into a little bit of what I thought of the movie, from seeing the trailers, I wasn't too stoked about it. Like, I don't really know why. It seemed a little derivative to me. It seemed like a mixture of a bunch of different space movies that have come out over the last 10 years. The Martian, obviously, it's written by Andy Weir, who wrote the book Project Hail Mary. And, it kind of goes on tropes that he has done in his bibliography, but it's sort of like the hard out astronaut who is alone and facing extreme problems that he has to overcome. That's obviously there, and reminded me of Sunshine. Well, that was watching the movie. It reminded me of Sunshine. Because you have the sun affecting the earth and the earth is dying. But also, it sort of reminded me of, and I don't know that this would have been an influence, but like, it reminded me of the Adam Sandler movie Spaceman, which I told somebody about that recently, and they're like, well, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be like that, thinking that it was like a Adam Sandler comedy, but it was Adam Sandler attempting to do something more serious, and it was a sci-fi movie where he's alone in space and meets an alien friend who is like this big spider. But it reminded me of that. And while I do think it's sort of a mash of all those things. Like having watched it and coming out the other end, I still don't think it's terribly original. But it certainly does its job better than Spaceman. And comparing it to The Martian, I probably like The Martian more, and I like Sunshine more, and, I'd probably like this more than, I'd like Project Hail Mary more than something like Ad Astra, which I was also thinking about. But, overall, I loved Rocky, and that's the easy thing to love. Ryan Gosling's character, Ryland Grace, I think is his name, encounters this little alien guy named Rocky. And he's this little rock creature who sort of has like 4 legs and crawls around. And, so basically to go through the plot a little bit again, like Ryland Grace, Ryan Gosling's character, is a teacher who is extraordinarily gifted scientifically. And NASA, or whoever it may be, is sort of trying to convince him to go to space to save the planet, but like he is not wanting to do it. And basically the film opens with him having amnesia, so he is waking on the spaceship alone. His other 2 people have died. And he is just slowly regaining his memory. At first he doesn't even know who he is or where he came from, but like he's regaining the memory, and the backstory is done through flashbacks throughout the movie. But so you kind of get to a pivotal point in the background story towards the end of the film, like going alongside, the Rocky story in space, where he meets, a little alien named Rocky, or that he names Rocky, and he helps him do his job. But like I said, I loved Rocky. Even that kind of felt, although I loved it, it felt a little bit derivative. It reminded me of things like the way they do it they bring him in, and Ryan Gosling kind of rigs up a little way to do a translator, like through a computer and stuff. So when Rocky's communicating, um, the translator is speaking. But that kind of reminded me of Up, the Pixar movie, with Doug, the dog, having a shock collar, not a shock collar, sorry, but having a collar that, um, you know, translates his dog stuff to English. And, sort of that, like, broken, cute sort of English. Like, some of the, like, to give an example from Project Hail Mary, well, if he's amazed by things, he'll say, amaze, amaze, amaze. And that has been quoted many times in Letterboxd reviews. And, like, Ryan Gosling is telling Rocky about his ex-girlfriend who, like, got together with another guy, and he's like, oh, like, he's with Mark, or she's with Mark now. And then Rocky's like, Rocky hate Mark. And it's cute. It's fun. I love stuff like that. But the plot didn't, I thought I'd seen stuff like this before. But the cinematography's great. They go to a planet that they name Adrian, and the visuals on that are amazing. And yeah, like, although it wasn't wholly original to me, things don't necessarily have to be original. I would like maybe a little bit of an original take, but it's good enough. And I would probably watch it again. And I enjoyed my time with it. My only complaint is it's a little long, but I'm still entertained throughout. So I would give Project Hail Mary a 3.5 out of 5. Ryan Gosling was great in it. Rocky was executed, or the character of Rocky was done really well. I think it was James Ortiz who did the voice, and that was great. But yeah, 3.5 out of 5 for that. To move on to a couple other things I watched, with a queer movie group, I watched Some Like It Hot, which I had seen before. And it was fun to meet some of those people. I met them for the first time that night. It was my first time going to that specific movie group. And yeah, we ended up picking that movie, and I had seen it before, but I had seen it like maybe 9 years ago. And yeah, I'd forgotten a lot of things about it. I just basically remembered the simple log line of the movie and Marilyn Monroe's performance and stuff like that. But it stars Marilyn Monroe and Jack Lemmon and Tony Curtis. And yeah, I enjoyed it probably a lot more this time. It's weird, and I don't know how it would have been looked at the time, but it seems sort of queer, like inclusive or like understanding in some way. Like, and I don't know that the filmmakers would have even had the wherewithal to understand that when they were making this. But yeah, there was nothing overly, because you go into a movie like this that's from 1959, and you expect that there might be something offensive. And just to go through what it's about two men who dress up as women to escape these mobsters that are chasing them, and they go on the run with this woman band who is led by Marilyn Monroe. And they're in this all-woman band, and at the end they end up playing at a place that the mobsters go to. So it's like sort of just hijinks, them trying to get away from people while they're dressed up as women. But they sort of, Jack Lemmon's character starts getting hit on by this guy who is very rich. He's a very rich older man, and Jack Lemmon starts sort of leaning into it. And while at first he's not into it, he starts getting into it, and it's because he wants money. But then, like, there's a part where Tony Curtis tries, like, at the beginning, Jack Lemmon's trying to remind himself, I'm a girl, I'm a girl, I'm a girl. And he's like, I wish I was dead, trying to be, like, a joke that he's like, why am I doing this or something. But then Tony Curtis, when Jack Lemmon is getting into the relationship with this guy, Tony Curtis is like, you're a guy, or you're a boy, he says. And remind yourself that you're a boy. And he's like, I'm a boy. And then he's like, I wish I was dead. So that felt very, like, and everybody awed at that part. And yeah, that felt very like, Jack Lemmon from our perspective today felt like this character is going through a queer experience that maybe they aren't understanding, or they have something within them that is coming out. But I don't know that that was intended at the time, but it's interesting looking at it through today's lens. And at the end, you Jack Lemmon is on a boat with the guy he's supposed to marry, and he is trying to say reasons that he can't marry him and all this stuff, and the guy is like, not like, he's saying like, oh, that's okay to everything, and at the end he rips off his wig and he's like, I'm a guy, and then he's like, nobody's perfect, like accepting of that. So like he wants to be in this relationship, and that is very queer inclusive feeling, and everybody loved that ending. But it's a funny movie. It's sort of Mrs. Doubtfire-esque. Like, I don't think that anybody making the movie at the time thought of it through a queer lens, but it's like I said, it's interesting to look at through today's lens, and overall, it's still a really funny movie. And Marilyn Monroe is great in it. Tony Curtis is great in it. Jack Lemmon's great in it. The direction's great. It's just, well done all around. And yeah, I would give that movie a 4 out of 5. Maybe something that brings it down a little bit is just that that also felt a little long for what it was. I think it's about 2 hours. Could have maybe cut like 20 minutes out of it, but don't want to complain too much about length. To talk about some other things I watched as well, I watched My Cousin Vinny, starring Joe Pesci. A friend showed that, and I enjoyed that. It was like, I didn't like absolutely love it. It sort of felt slow at times, or like a little flat. I don't know how to even explain it, but like, Joe Pesci's great in it, and but it felt like, sometimes it felt like almost like a made-for-TV, not like look, but like script. Just a very sort of, it's a fish out of water movie. It's Joe Pesci coming into a small redneck town where his cousin has been accused of a crime, and he has to defend his cousin. They're all from New York, so it's New York versus the South. But Marissa Tomei actually won an Oscar for this movie, and she is Joe Pesci's girlfriend, and she has a great scene towards the end that is definitely her Oscar-winning moment, where she's on the witness stand and is sort of explaining a bunch of things that, end up working in Joe Pesci's case very well for him. But it was an enjoyable movie. I'm definitely glad I watched it. It's Fred Gwynne is the judge, and he is Herman Munster. But yeah, he's the sort of judge who is annoyed by all of the stuff that Joe Pesci's doing. He's from the South, and he doesn't understand a lot of the differences between them, and he's very exasperated. But there's some comedy that comes from that, of course. I don't know that I would necessarily watch it again, but I did enjoy it, and I would give it probably a 3 out of 5. Anyway, that's everything for today, guys. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.